Update. What you're about to see, if you can even see it, might not make much sense. I found something on this computer yesterday that shook me to my core. Please tell me if you can go to www.screamlouder.info. I don't know if anyone can, and I don't know if anyone should. I didn't even know people could see my first post until recently. The link was just sitting there in a text file tucked away in my documents with a single line reading, "To help you scream at night." I didn't need to click on it. I shouldn't have. But what would you do being trapped in a place like this? I said I wanted answers and I got them. I honestly can't tell if this is a joke or a pet project from someone at the radio station, someone with time on their hands and a sickness remedied by their own grand illusions. But I guess I've recently developed some pretty awful delusions as well. It's been 2 weeks now, and aside from the stuff I mentioned in my first post, there hadn't been much activity until yesterday. I don't know if it's a paranoia setting in after finding screamlouder.info, but I'm seeing things now, hearing things, moving shadows in the abandoned remnants of homes, and the sound of wind where I can't feel a single hair move above my head. And all your comments, I'll read them, but sometimes they don't look right. Sometimes they sound wrong in my head. They scare me. Then I look again and I understand that I've received nothing but kind words and different methods of getting out of here. That reminds me, I tried to leave. It was 2 days ago. I thought there might be a path through the mountains somewhere. I packed a backpack full of food and supplies and I made my way through the forest. After a mile or so, I came to a river completely black. The sludge blocked my way. I followed it all the way around town and back behind the cabin on the hill. I've been on an island this whole time. I found a road leading to a bridge west of the radio station, but it had collapsed into the sludge below. I threw a log into the stuff at one point to see if I could swim through it, and it sank like it'd fallen in tar. I imagined myself in the place of the log, slowly sinking deeper and deeper until the black ooze filled my lungs. I wept. I'm losing hope by the minute, you guys, and I don't know how much longer I can take this. Worse than anything else, though, was last night's incident. It was maybe 11 or 12 o'clock at night and I couldn't sleep. Too many questions were buzzing in my head. I decided to go out for a walk to clear my mind and get some air. Typically a fool's choice this late at night, but strangely the electricity still worked here, and the streetlights were lit up on all the poles that hadn't fallen. It provided me with sight and a sense of security. With or without the light, though, if it meant getting away from that computer in that room for a while, I'd take my chances. I just passed the street where I laid down some parking cones, reminding me to stay away from that awful payphone, when I noticed a building that I must have seen a dozen times but never really bothered to look at. Through the windows I could see chrome-rimmed tables and chairs, booth seating stretching from one end to the other, and framed pictures of places around town I could already identify. I'm becoming too familiar with this place. God, I want to leave. The sign above the building was brightly lit with some of the letters burnt out. AU, a missing letter. IE, another missing letter. AYS, diner. This must have been the diner from that website. I hated the thought of exploring unfamiliar territory after dark, but I needed to make a connection, find some semblance of understanding in this place before I could sleep again. If this yokel restaurant had real answers waiting for me inside, nothing could keep me out. The front door swung open effortlessly. Looks like the lock-in mechanism has been torn off by the storm. To my right, in this darkened room, was a light switch that, after several flicks from my hand, proved itself unusable. Click. The flashlight I took from my stash of emergency gear shot a stream of light at the kitchen behind the front counter. Hundreds of empty pie tins were stacked from floor to ceiling, covering every square inch of the room. Award-winning pies was an understatement for this level of disarray. Stumbling over broken plates and straight tins, I wandered into the hallway behind the counter in search of a circuit breaker. I kept my eyes forward and alert while I brushed my hands against the wall, hoping to catch the change from wallpaper to metal. Near the end of my path, I felt a wet spot. Shivers went down my spine as I shined the light on my fingers. Black. Hoping it wasn't what I thought it was, I brought my fingers to my nose and sniffed. It smelled like berries and corn syrup. Thank God it was just pie filling. I shined my light over the spot on the wall I just touched and noticed a crease in the wallpaper. I followed it up the wall and then over and down again. It was in the shape of a door. Someone had sealed the room off from the rest of the diner. Hundreds of pie tins crashed as I shuffled my way into the kitchen. I needed a knife to cut through the paper. I spotted one on the stove that was covered in pie filling. It seemed like that's all they've been serving for a long time now. I returned to the door, put down my flashlight, and dug the serving knife into the wall where the crease lay. As I dug, I noticed a flow of air from the room. It carried with it a sickly sweet smell, the scent of a secret decayed by neglect. After I sliced through the perimeter, I felt for spots where a knob should have been. Instead, there was a hanging ring handle inlaid into the wood of the door. After cutting a hole, I grabbed the handle and pulled. The inside was dark. I heard a drawn-out gloop and squelch as something from the ceiling fell to the floor. I picked my flashlight and peered inside. The walls and ceiling were coated inches thick in blackberry filling. It looked like weak old coagulated blood and didn't smell much better. I held my shirt above my nose to keep from inhaling too much of it. I quickly shined my flashlight around the room, and there in the back corner was a blob of flesh. Man or woman, I wasn't certain, but they must have been 500 or 600 pounds, if not more. They sat there completely naked and lathered in pie filling, motionless against the wall. They must have added to the stench weeks or even months ago. It was a Renaissance painting of the path to hell via gluttony. I stumbled backwards with dry night terror screams. I couldn't handle this. None of this made any sense, and I needed to leave now, but I couldn't feel my legs. I just stood there motionless in the dark, completely escaped from my body, repeating in my head, "What the fuck is happening?" Then I caught my breath. Eyes returned to focus and I booked it without looking back. I screamed through the empty town with no response but my own echoes off the nearby rubble. I ran up the stairs of the radio station, tripping over myself on the way. I hid in my bed for the rest of the night, eyes wide open, peering through my sheets, unblinking. That brings us to now. I knew this more than ever was when I needed to call for help again. I see your comments. I know you're out there. I just wish I knew you were real and not inside my head. I can't believe any of this. How does a place like this exist? And more importantly, who or what killed the person inside that hidden room? I know I said I was lonely before, but now I'm praying more than anything that I'm alone. I'm not ready to give up on leaving this place quite yet. I'll keep you posted if anything else happens.